Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Spin Cycle podcast. The podcast talking to the personalities, the groups, and the brands that make the UK and London an incredible place to be a cyclist. Today, we've got two people who NJ and I met at Rouleur. Our tertiary friendships, I would say. We know each other who know each other. We've got Jago and Felix from Angry Pablo. Guys, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, we typically look to break the podcast into three component parts. So, who are you? How'd you get into cycling? Tell us about your brand, and then the Q&A. So, we'll start with question one. Maybe Jago, we'll start with you. How did you get into? Tell us a bit about you, and how did you get into cycling?
So I think I actually started cycling a little bit before I met Felix. I did triathlon growing up, not very seriously, just like local races and stuff. And then when I started secondary school, I met Felix, and I guess he cycled a bit more seriously than I did, and he kind of encouraged me to get involved in track racing, crit racing, and kind of from there, from toe cages to cleats, that kind of thing. And yeah, I don't think I ever would have cycled, probably, like racing wise, if I hadn't met Felix. But yeah, thanks to him, I did. I tried it. I didn't love it. I stopped. Then from there, I just cycled for fun, really. I still race triathlon, but I didn't ever really do much cycling specific racing myself. I just used to go and watch Felix do that.
Was it sort of crit racing when you were doing it, or was it more, I guess, road on track?
So I would say the first racing that I did was on Preston Park track in Brighton, which is quite a famous track. And I probably raced there from kind of 12 until 14. Weirdly, I never raced Felix because he was always an age group above me because his birthday is the year before mine. That's kind of a good thing because he was quite good. He was always racing up an age group anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. And I also did a bit of crit racing as well around Brighton. So there's some crits in Hove Park, which are, I think, still going to this day. I also did some racing at Hillingdon back in the day. More duathlons, I think, than bike-specific races. But yeah, that's kind of my background in cycling. And then ever since then, I've just ridden for fun, to be honest, through uni and stuff.
Fair. I mean, and Felix, we've done a little bit of reading. I looked you up and found there was a Wikipedia page. So I know that, correct me if I'm wrong, you're an Olympian yourself?
Yeah, I say half an Olympian, but yeah.
I mean, if you're half an Olympian, maybe tell us how. We'd love to hear the story. I know you came quite accomplished, especially in track cycling, right?
Yeah, so I spent the last sort of 5 or 6 years of my cycling career racing on the track, and that ended, with me going to the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. Didn't have the best performance, hence the half Olympian status. Didn't finish my race, but no, it was a really cool experience.
What race were you doing at the Tokyo Olympics, Felix?
I did the Madison, so the race where you race with your partner and you throw them around the track. The one that looks unbelievably chaotic.
Is it chaotic when you're there?
Unbelievably chaotic. Yeah, it is.
Who was your partner at the Olympics?
A guy called Mark Downey. So he was a few years younger than me, but we had been racing together for the last 5 or 6 years, and actually raced with his older brother when I first started track cycling proper track cycling in 2010.
I mean, that's pretty incredible, right? Were you cycling in velodrome in Brighton then, and then you worked your way up? How did you go from, starting to, how was I don't want to say something weird like your Olympic journey, but how did you go from riding around on a velodrome as a kind of a youth to then turning up at Tokyo and treading the boards, as they say?
It all stems from the same place as Jago, really, from Preston Park. So there's a really, really good youth club there called Preston Park Youth Cycling Club. And I got into racing there, and then they started organising trips to go to Newport in Wales to do track sessions and try the indoor track. And then quite early on, maybe when I was around 14, 15, I got onto like a British cycling kind of like development program. And they would very frequently have training camps down in Newport or up in Manchester during half term. So I was on the track quite a lot. There was a lot of travel when I was young, up and down the country. And then when I was a junior, so when I was 17, I started riding for Ireland. So both my parents are from Dublin.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
And then that kind of just sped up my progress in cycling in a way, because there was a lot less kind of depth in the Irish track cycling squad. So even at 16, 17, I was able to go to elite competition.
Wow.
And started there.
Incredible. I mean, with that in mind, maybe we should talk about Angry Pablo, the brand. Let's head to a break.
Welcome back, everyone. So, Felix, how did Angry Pablo start?
So Angry Pablo started we first had the idea, I would say, April 2020. Myself and Jago have always thought about starting a business together, but never really had the time. But I live in Mallorca, and it was just as sort of lockdown was starting out here, and it was a really severe, strict lockdown. So I just essentially had unlimited time. So a quick phone call with Jago, who was also living abroad at the time, and we discussed the idea of starting a cycling brand that offered something a little bit different, a bit less serious, a bit more inviting to people on the outside of the sport. And that's where it was born. We spent essentially the whole summer researching, talking to different manufacturing facilities and sort of figuring out what we wanted to do. And then we launched in September of that same year.
Nice. I wouldn't say non-serious brand, but as in like, I guess taking the eliteness out of it. Is that why Angry Pablo is called Angry Pablo?
Yeah, essentially. We wanted a name that made people ask questions. It was kind of, it just gives them a more relaxed feel. The same with the logo. It makes people laugh. They like talking about it. And it's just very different to what you see, I think, in the cycling industry. Up until this point, anyway.
Nice. So where was Jago? Where were you based when this call in the pandemic came?
Yeah, so I was living in Moscow at the time.
Okay.
I had a very different lockdown experience to Felix. I essentially didn't have a lockdown. It's quite weird because I came back to the UK last year, and when I've spoken to people about it, I kind of feel a bit left out. I kind of feel like that experience didn't really happen to me. Because I was free to move around. People didn't really take it. I think people took it seriously for about 2 days, and then everyone was like, more to care. Obviously, people were being careful, but it wasn't to the same extent that I saw in other countries.
I mean, so kind of talking through Angry Pablo, Jago, obviously we know sustainability is a bit of an issue, or not an issue. It's something important to you guys as a brand. Why don't you maybe give us an understanding of where you're positioning yourself within that kind of world of sustainability?
Yeah, sure. So I think that it kind of stems from a change in our consumer behavior. Like we see fast fashion was obviously a massive thing 10 years ago. You were buying cheap clothes when we were growing up anyway, from places like Topman and H&M. You'd have them for 6 months, so then you change them, you throw them away. We ourselves have changed how we shop. We like to buy good things, and we like to keep them for a long time. We'd rather have 5 really good jumpers in our wardrobe that we're going to wear and that we actually really like than having 20. I guess that kind of change in our behavior did play a big role in how we approached our brand. And I think it was important for us as well to be able to travel to the places that were manufacturing our goods. So inevitably that meant that it was going to be within Europe. We also looked into materials quite carefully, did a lot of research that summer, one of my best friends is like a consultant within the fashion industry. So I spent a lot of time picking his brains, asking him questions about what materials to look for, what materials to avoid. And we were very careful not to rush things. So I think the collection that we have now, we're quite proud of, particularly from like a materials point of view, and also from like a manufacturing point of view, because I think that we wanted things to be transparent. We wanted people to like look at a product online and to know what the materials were, where it was made, without that kind of those gray areas. Sometimes it's quite hard to find out where stuff is made. You have to look quite deeply into it. And that was something that we wanted to avoid. And hopefully we have been transparent. We would be happy to answer any questions. We encourage questions about manufacturing processes and things like that. So yeah.
With the manufacturing, has there been any other, challenges that you weren't expecting?
A lot, I would say. A lot, yeah. So I think we found out that it's very hard to find a good manufacturer, and it's very hard to find a manufacturer that you can have like a really good open relationship with, where you can pick up the phone and call that person and they'll answer your questions. I would say it took us the best part of 2 years to find a manufacturer for the cycling clothing. So that was something that we're always planning to do, but it kept getting pushed back because you'd be speaking to a manufacturer, then that door would close, and then you'd have to start the whole process again. And that was quite frustrating. And I think it actually got to the point where we'd almost given up on the cycling kit when we stumbled across this factory in Italy, and they just ticked all the boxes. They were perfect. They were super happy about us coming out to visit and testing prototypes and that kind of thing.
Nice.
And the facility uses solar power.
Cool.
For all its like internal processes.
Oh, cool.
Which obviously ticked another box for us. So yeah, we were very lucky to find them. And
yeah, because when we were at Ruler, me and Cam noticed that you had 80% tags on everything saying with renewable energy.
Yeah,
which is quite. I guess it was quite a unique thing. As I can't think of any other, clothes brands or even like any clothes brands where they talk about the sustainability and the solar panel or renewable energy which is used to create their clothing, which I think is quite quite a unique thing. And I know that if I was to invest in Angry Pablo, I know that you actually do care about the world, because you've proven it by it's taken 2 years to find a factory that suits your needs and the world's needs.
Yeah, I think it would have been very easy for us as well to find a factory in China.
It is.
Or in the Far East. It wouldn't have been difficult for us to do that, but we understood that, for this to work for us, we needed to be in close contact with the factory and, to have a relationship with them.
As with anything in the world, we have, lots of clothing brands, lots of bike brands, lots of frame brands, and in the realm of clothing in cycling, there's quite a lot of brands. How do you find, what challenges does Angry Pablo have against all the big cycling brands within the business, and then you as a small independent? How do you find that you cut through against everyone else?
Yeah, I would say by offering something different. I think in the world of cycling in particular, people are incredibly brand loyal. So once you buy into one brand, they tend to just buy that brand. They don't tend to wear an outfit with lots of different brands. It's Rafa jersey, it's a Rafa pair of bib shorts, it's Rafa socks.
Yeah.
And that does make it difficult, and that does present challenges. But I think the way that we did it was by offering quite a small collection to begin with.
Yeah.
And by putting a lot of time and effort into those smaller items like socks. I think a lot of people kind of fell in love with our socks because they did stand out. They were different. They had that face on the back of the cuff.
Yep.
And once they've bought into one product, it kind of makes it a bit, the transition to buying other products a bit easier and a bit more natural. So I would say that was one of the ways that we did it, was by starting with a very small collection. And a collection of products that really did stand out from the crowd. And that's why you saw within that first collection, a lot of them did have the face on. And it was very prominent, like the undervests as well. They were very popular at the beginning. You know, it was a big face on an undervest. People liked unzipping their jersey at a cafe stop and showing off the branding, which was obviously very good for us.
I feel that also maybe ties into your point about sustainability, right? Like, if it's a really high quality item rather than like a faceless massive brand with, you know, people that are paying 150, 160 pounds plus for a jersey that maybe 1,000 other people have also bought, and that it's like the quality is there. It's one of those ones where it's like, if you, like you said, if you invest in pieces that you think from a cycling point of view, because cycling is already expensive, if you invest in things and are a company that you believe in, it kind of reinforces the fact that actually I've kind of went outside of that, and I'm proud to wear something of quality, right?
Yeah, and I think everything has to start somewhere, right? You know, someone has to. All these brands that we kind of are talking about, they all did start off somewhere, and they weren't popular in the beginning. They got popular because they were doing something very well, and there's a reason that they're so popular now. And we recognize that we need to put a lot of time and effort into the development of our products to make sure that they really do stand up against those brands, and also offer price points that we think are fair. That, you know, we don't want to be taking the mickey with our price points, but there is a certain amount of time and resources that goes into developing these products and having them manufactured in the places that they are. They can't be incredibly cheap. They do have to be at a certain price point. But we have tried our best to be very competitive, you know, within the space.
Maybe a kind of a follow-on question of that is, when you're doing your sort of product development, you know, what are you drawing on? What's the things? Maybe like, I mean, there was a point, and I think you guys have cycled as long as NJ and I have, that cycling apparel was pretty terrible. Do you remember the quarter zips with really big arms? You know, the boil in the bag.
I think they're coming back, no?
Yeah, the bin bag jackets. I mean, what? And we're very different now, right? But what are you guys intending to do with the kit? You know, where are you drawing inspiration? What do you think you do really great? What are you looking to do better? How are you kind of designing it from that point of view?
I would say that we are drawing a lot of inspiration from functional fashion brands outside of cycling. So a lot of what we do is about function, as well as, you know, being a high performance garment. So something that can be used in, you know, a multitude of different situations. So like you can see that from our jerseys, we designed them with this waterproof pouch that they can be folded up into. So you've got like this really neat pouch.
Amazing.
That is great for like packing, gravel riding, you know, if you've got a dirty jersey and you want to chuck it into your bag or your handlebar bag. So yeah, I think we are taking a lot of inspiration from outside of cycling, from cool functional fashion brands like Arc'teryx, Patagonia, brands that we've always liked and admired, and we think have a lot to offer to cycling as well. I think that it'd be quite easy to make the mistake of just looking inwards for inspiration, where I think our approach is very different because we're looking very much outwards.
Nice. From I guess when you're talking about development, what kind of stuff were you doing with, like, I guess, kit testing? Was it basically you'd wear them and ride, or was it giving them out to a friend to see how they fitted on like different body types? Or is there like I guess with the factory, is it like special machines which show how durable they are?
Oh, that was my job. Riding it, wearing it in Mallorca, also showing friends and guys that I ride with here, and just getting them to try stuff, see what they thought of ideas. And kind of very initial testing was making stuff here at home, trialing, like making a little waterproof pocket and seeing if a jersey fits in it, for example, how big it needs to be, and just seeing if the ideas are going to work before trying to put them into practice with the factory.
You got quite good sewing machine, didn't you?
Yeah, that might be pushing it a little bit. I was able to sew a square. But no, we've just taken a very practical approach to that kind of stuff, showing people wearing it, trying to do as much as we can here to see if things are going to work. And yeah, we've managed to find a good group of people that are kind of honest with us and give us constructive sort of feedback.
Nice. How would you describe, I guess, the fit of the jersey? Because it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem like you only have like, I guess, one sort of jersey type and one sort of short type. So how would you, I guess, describe the fit?
I love that. I love that you do that. I love that you buy Angry Pablo's clothes, you know what size you are. There isn't a training, an endurance, a race, a pro race, and then a Galacticos fit.
Well, hopefully someday there will be. But no, at the moment we've gone for a kind of, I'd say it's quite a standard fitting jersey. It is designed to be a performance fit. So we say on the website that if you're looking for a performance fit, then we would recommend sizing down. So we don't have like this traditional kind of Italian sizing where everything comes up tiny. It's actually kind of the opposite, where it kind of comes up being one size. I wouldn't say too big. I think that would be misleading. But if you were to take your usual size, then it would be kind of not skin tight kind of race fit.
That's true.
It would be a tiny bit more relaxed. But the reason we did that was because we did want to offer something for everyone. So if someone was quite a serious cyclist and they did want that kind of performance fit, then they could get that from us. Obviously, we don't have the budget to be spent on kind of wind tunnel testing and that kind of thing, but we are very confident in how our jersey performs. Like, we've tested it across a range of different conditions in lots of different countries, and I think it stands up. You know, it does well. I don't know if Felix has anything to add, because obviously he's our pro kit tester.
I think it was just we had a really good idea of what we wanted from all of our kit. Like, we've spent obviously the last 15 years riding, and I've worn probably 10, 12 different manufacturers' kit. Every year they brought out different iterations, different fits, different shapes, different features, and we just knew what we wanted, which made it a lot easier. We were going in with this sort of, this is what we want here. It's the same with our origin story with developing the socks. I'd had countless pairs of cycling socks over the years. Never thought a pair were as good as they should be, and we knew what we wanted and found the factory and developed them. And I think that's got us off to a really strong start, just because we had a really strong vision of what we wanted. And it was, even if it was something very simple like socks, we still get comments today on how much people like them. And it's such a simple thing.
They're also unique. They were different to socks of other cycling brands. We had quite literally made them ourselves.
What would you, as you were talking about socks, on a previous episode, I had a rant to Cam about getting angry at people who charge £20 for socks Nova, and sometimes, and like after like 6 months, they like go a different color. And I saw that you guys, your socks are under £20, which I'm a big fan of. So, as you were saying, Felix, what about bad socks? What makes your socks so good? Is it that they stay up?
Oh yeah.
Is it the
they
fabrics?
Do stay up.
Yeah.
That can be confirmed. They do not move once you've put them on. But there was certain things from other socks, like from another brand which I won't mention. I had brand new socks. I'd used them maybe twice, and after the second wash, they were kind of like hard. You know, they kind of lose that kind of elasticity and kind of
I know exactly what you mean.
That softness in the material. Yeah. And obviously, living out here in Mallorca, I wanted a very breathable sock. And other socks that I had were, just not performing. And again, it's something that some simple changes can improve something so simple so much, and it can make such a big difference. There's nothing worse than having a really bad pair of socks that are slipping, or your feet are getting sweaty, or so yeah, it was a nice place to start.
Where for the real technical question, where on the calf do your socks come up to? What is optimum level of sock to calf?
Yeah, and also there's no UCI bullshit on this podcast either, so they can be as high as you want.
Just below the calf muscle. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Seeing as I'm a track cyclist, my muscles are too big to actually get them over, so that's why we set it there.
Chris Miller said.
Is that the same for you, Jago?
Yeah, my muscles.
Chris Miller was saying that he sprays hairspray on the inside of his aero socks, and Jay, is this right? That the hairspray adheses to a shaved leg. It keeps the aero sock up, apparently, according to Chris Miller.
But I think it's all about the aero sock you buy.
That is definitely true. But a few quick brands got on that hype a few years ago, and they started selling a sock stick.
No,
it was like a prick stick, and I guess I don't know what was in it, and you could put it on your leg and then pull your socks up, and it would hold them. But as you said, if you have good socks, you don't need a prick stick to hold them up.
Yeah.
Speaking of good kit, we won't talk about bad kit because there's enough of that around. But speaking of maybe when you did your product development, it sounds like Angry Pablo, you have the house style, call it. You know what works. You know what you like. You've got a great factory. I know you said that Felix, you especially, right? You had lots of kit from lots of other brands that maybe wasn't what you wanted. Did you look at other brands and say, we like how this fits here, we like this design, or we like having these pockets? How did you kind of put all of those ideas together and then go to your factory and say, this is what we'd like, and then you're like, this is it, this works? What was that process like?
It's taking bits and pieces from everywhere, really. There was no like, this jersey, we want to mimic this. It was like, we like the sleeve length on this type of jersey, we like the material on this type of jersey, we like the kind of style of this type of jersey. So yeah, we took obviously inspiration from wearing all those different kits over the years, but there wasn't any singular item that was used. It was just bits and pieces from everywhere.
Was there ever a Frankenstein jersey made with you on your Singer sewing machine where you unpick the seams of a brand? You turn up and you're looking
Felix
like...
has to be careful with this.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
It's very easy to look at his employment history to work out what brands he's talking about. I've had lots of kit through the years from Felix, from race teams. And yeah, we're speaking about the same brands, I think.
Fair.
Yeah, confirmed.
But yeah, we did take lots of cycling jerseys and bib shorts.
Talking of bib shorts, is there two pockets on the bib shorts? Like, because on the picture on the website, it's kind of got a person's hand behind the pocket, but then there's also like a zip on the back of the bib shorts with a pocket. So is there two pockets or is there one pocket?
Two pockets. So we have a weather-resistant zip-up pocket, and then kind of like an extra layer stash pocket where you can slide in a waterproof jacket or a gilet.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
The zip pocket was kind of designed in case you didn't want to ride with the jersey. So if you're wearing a t-shirt, you would also have a zip pocket that you could use.
That's very clever.
Yeah, I think I've been on like Instagram too much when you're like, didn't want to ride without a jersey on. I was like, oh, these guys. But then you said t-shirt and saved it. And I was like, oh.
You don't have to wear a t-shirt.
Well, when it comes to, I guess, design, the colors of your jerseys, they're quite, minimalist, kind of very clean. Do you think that's kind of going to be always the Angry Pablo way? Or do you think you'll get more into, I guess, more graphical designs and patterns and whatever floats your boat?
No, the idea around the minimalist design it's something that we both like, but also I think it's a design that is a bit more inviting to people that are new to cycling.
Yeah.
I think if you're first putting on your first Lycra jersey, your first pair of Lycra shorts, you don't really want to be walking around in fluoro yellow, like bringing attention to yourself. You wanted to sort of like,
Yeah.
And again, it's taking inspiration from outside of cycling. It's looking at what these functional fashion brands are doing, and that's what we consider cool, and bringing a bit of that into cycling.
But to answer your question in full, I don't think that we would commit ourselves to just doing those kind of minimalist pastel shades for the rest of Angry Pablo's existence. I do think there are other directions we can take it in. That was just what we decided for the first launch.
Yeah.
Because obviously we could only produce so many jerseys and so many pairs of bib shorts, etc. And we wanted something that would appeal to as many people as possible.
What are you most proud of? This might sound like a very weird question, but from starting a brand in the middle of the pandemic, being where you are today, so to go from nothing at the start of pandemic to being an exhibitor at Rouleur, being a pretty well-known challenger brand, appearing on potentially the #1 underground cycling podcast in the UK. What are you most proud of with Angry Pablo so far?
I think that's a good question, because you have, as Felix I'm sure will confirm, you have lots of good and bad days when you're doing something like this. When you're you start a small business, it's not all plain sailing. There are as many bad days as there are good days. And like, you kind of go through ebbs and flows, if you will, and something like really cool will happen, like someone will wear your brand and you'll see them wearing your brand, and you're like, wow, like,
amazing,
that's incredible. But then you'll have like a couple of bad days, and then something else will happen. But I think it'd be really hard to pick out, for me, a standout moment. I think that Rouleur would definitely be up there.
Yeah.
When we were there, I was kind of looking around at the other exhibitors and thinking, wow, like, there are some really cool brands here. Like, it's kind of cool to be recognized amongst like these people.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you get asked to be at Rouleur? Just quickly button in, do you apply to be a stall, or would Rouleur be like, we want you to exhibit at our event, or is it a bit of both?
They contacted us to be involved, but it was
holy hell
a paid gig, so it's not. But we haven't been invited out of the kindness of their hearts, I don't think.
But I bet you there were a lot of people that wanted to be invited that contacted the sales department of Rouleur that didn't go. Guarantee you that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Amazing. So I kind of know, because we spoke about it at Rouleur slightly, but I know we spoke about it at Rouleur, but what's next for the Angry Pablo brand?
We're currently deep into our development of the spring 2024 collections, which we're both quite excited about. We've learned a lot from our first runs.
Mm-hmm.
As Jago said, we're really proud of what we've produced, but there's always areas we can improve on, and also increasing the ranges. But we're also really excited to continue to develop the Angry Pablo social club aspect of things as well. We have a run club in Brighton. We've recently started a run club in London, and we're hoping to push on with that next year and continue to develop it as much as we can.
We hear that there's a run club. Is there going to be a cycle club?
Yeah, so we do actually have a cycle club, but the rides are a bit less frequent than our runs. So the runs are every single week on a set time, set day. And the rides are, I'd say we try and hold on through the summer once every 4 or 5 weeks. And we try to move them around. So they've done some in Sussex. We've done a couple in London. But again, we'd like to develop that next year and do more.
So you said about the social run clubs and the cycling events. How do people get involved with Angry Pablo? What's next for you guys?
So on our website, we have a social club section that's dedicated to the run and ride clubs. And it's very easy to sign up. You just have to sign a waiver and enter your email address, and then we add you to our community. And in terms of what we've got coming next, we've got a casual collection dropping in about 2 or 3 weeks, which we're really excited about.
Amazing.
And we're going to launch that exclusively for social club members, probably a few days before the general release. And so, yeah, people can sign up to our social club on our website and they can hear about it first.
Sounds great. That sounds great. Sort of going back to, I guess, when Cam was asking you about success, this sort of, has there been a time where you've just been out and you've just seen, in the most randomest of places, just seen an Angry Pablo like t-shirt or jersey, or someone's gone past on a bike and you're like, oh wow, and it kind of hit you of like, I've made that?
That's a really good question. I saw someone on the tube once in London.
No.
An Angry Pablo. Yeah. And that probably is up there. Top 5 moments.
Did you have to slightly restrain yourself to go over and be like, by the way, yes, company, thanks for buying it. Would you, do you want to take a photo? Like, it must be like so exciting just to see, but you have to be like skulk off quietly.
Do you want my autograph? Yeah, but I've also seen, I was in Mallorca with Felix once, and I think it was a girl that rode past, and she was wearing an Angry Pablo neck warmer, and Felix literally chased her down the road shouting Angry Pablo.
With that in mind, let's head to a break. Welcome back, everybody. Section 3 Q&A. This, if you've heard any prior episodes, you know that this is a white bib safe space. You're more than welcome here. Guys, will there ever be, first of all, are you fans of the white bib? Second of all, will there ever be an Angry Pablo white bib? Maybe Felix, we start with you.
I've never personally wore white bibs, but I wouldn't be against it.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't be against it. I feel like if I was in really good shape, I would put white bibs on.
Oh.
You have to have a good. I think you have to have a good tan to go with them as well.
Yeah, the contrast.
Well, you do live in Mallorca, so
I do, but I do have Irish heritage.
Yeah, my partner's half Irish and Portuguese, and she got the Irish skin rather than the Portuguese skin. And it is when we go on holiday, it's all she ever tells me. She's like, the hat on. We were at the Giro last year, and it was 38 degrees in like May, and there I am, just t-shirt, like getting all nice and tan, looking all like, not that I'm Italian in any way, but I'm looking like a local. And there she is with like having to put on like layers of like white long sleeves on so she doesn't get burnt.
Yeah, I'm just going red and freckled. Yeah. It's not really the best combination, but white bib shorts maybe.
Jago, are you venturing in white bib shorts in sunny Brighton?
Yeah, I'm not sure and I'll tell you why. Myself and Felix used to ride with a guy in Mallorca a lot who wore the same pair of white bib shorts, and they were always dirty. Dirty. And I find it really hard to look past that. Like when I think of white bib shorts, I just think of that man. And hopefully he's not this.
Are we saying dirty in it wasn't clean, or dirty as in he got some stains on them and they didn't come out?
Yeah, I'd probably say the latter. Just like he'd ridden them a few too many times. It wasn't a good look, but I'm convinced that I could pull off a pair of white bib shorts. Maybe we need to test this out at some point.
So are we going to Angry Pablo white bib shorts? Maybe, it'll have to be a spring summer collection.
Yeah.
Or if you're like me, it could be an autumn winter collection because you're bold and true hard men ride in the rain.
I mean, they're a great indoor pair of shorts as well, aren't they?
Oh,
white bib shorts.
Potentially.
That is a shout.
It's just scare my wife and daughter instead of the general public of Surrey.
Low level warfare within the house. Talking of kit, what is your favorite Angry Pablo, I guess, kit? It can be cycling and leisure if we want to expand through your whole range.
My favourite piece of cycling kit from us, I think, has to be our all-purpose gilet. I think it's the most kind of innovative product that we've come up with, and it just ticks all the boxes for being versatile, being really effective, and looking cool.
Perfect. Why would you say it is innovative? In, I guess, when we think of, I guess, cycling gilets, what does it do that others don't?
I think the mesh back makes a huge difference when you're riding. It's really good for regulating temperature, and the water resistant pocket, or the weather resistant pocket on the back, is a bit of a game changer too, keeping your phone dry, keeping money dry, and the fact that it reverses back into its own pouch if you're traveling with the bike. Whether you want to keep something clean or keep your dirty gilet away from your clean stuff, it's really, really handy.
How many pockets are we talking on the back?
We have 4 pockets actually, so 3 standard pockets, and then the middle pocket has a zip-up weather resistant outer section.
That's good.
That's sick.
That's good. Jago, how about you?
No, I think on the cycling side of things, I'd agree. That's probably the piece of kit that comes in most handy as well, isn't it, in the UK, especially in this kind of weather. It's it's a really versatile, functional piece of kit. So I'd have to agree.
We'll make sure we put that in the show notes. I think a link to that website. Make sure people can get that one.
In terms of your leisure wear, would it be the sweatshirts you're wearing right now?
Ayo.
I really like our oversized t-shirts. They're really comfortable, and the quality of the material is really, really good. And they have that kind of minimalist design with a small patch on the chest.
Nice. Jago?
I live in this hoodie, so I think it would be rude for me not to say this hoodie in almond. It has to be almond, not grey. I'm a big fan of kind of, like comfy leisure wear that you can kind of wear all occasions. So yeah, I would go with this hoodie.
Sweet. As we know, you both probably have never really ridden in Regents, but I know that you have ridden in Richmond, but it'd be unfair to ask you which one is more pro. So in Brighton, Jago, what are your, I guess, favourite rides? Where would you see the most pro people be around Brighton?
Yeah, I guess they probably congregate around. There's a couple of good climbs in Brighton. I know Ditchling Beacon, for example, it's kind of on the London to Brighton route, isn't it? It's that last climb.
Oh yeah, me and Cam have done that. It was
hated it.
Yeah, I didn't properly. I probably didn't index my gear, so I had to climb up in I think it was a 39, like 25. Might have even been like I couldn't get to like the granny gear, and it was like
an excuse.
Probably the worst struggle.
This is an excuse. This is a massive excuse. NJ didn't pack his legs. NJ didn't eat. Last time he told me when I'm dishing bikini, he was, I think the air density was too bad for me. He did that. He's not.
It was hot down there. It was hot.
Bullshit.
It was hot. It was like it was April. It was like the CGC charity ride, and then at the bottom of Ditchling Beacon, it was very hot. I don't know. It was kind of like all right temperature, and then it was just like I overheated, and then it was just like 8 minutes of like the worst, just 8 minutes of struggle. But I did take some nice pictures of you at the top.
8 minutes is ambitious, mate. Anyway.
There's some other good climbs as well around, kind of closer to where we grew up. Firle Beacon, I'd definitely say is up there in Sussex as one of the best climbs.
Nice.
Is that with views or the gradient that you go up?
Oh, it's pretty tough gradient wise, but it's quite a weird one because you ride up to the top and then it's just a car park. It doesn't go anywhere. But there are some very nice views from the top. But I think it's used for a lot of like local hill climbs and stuff. So it makes it's quite competitive, I think, like Strava leaderboards and stuff. Like, there were some good times up there.
Perfect. So, Felix, you live in Mallorca. So I guess where is the most pro place in Mallorca, would you say?
I would say there's a climb called Sacalobra, which is really iconic. I don't know if you've ridden up it, but it's you go down to a port and you just have to turn around and come straight back up the road you've already come down, which is a bit daunting because you descend for about 20 minutes. But you'll always see pro guys riding up and down there. And I have a good memory because one of my teammates snapped his gear cable as we were entering the port, and he had to ride up the full climb in the 11th sprocket, which was quite enjoyable to watch. And it's the average gradient of about, I think it's 9%, but there's some really steep sections.
Nice. Is there any other, I guess, less famous climbs that you'd recommend in Mallorca?
Yeah, there's a really nice climb out of Palma called Secreo. It's the main climb to get out of the city. But the whole coastal loop on the west, it's all undulating, amazing views. And you cross through some really nice towns like Dea and Drach. And then you can descend down into a town called Suya, which is also really nice.
You guys have been riding for a while. You've got your own brand. You've seen a lot. You've seen the inside and the outside. Maybe look. What do you dislike about cycling? Would you say? What's the kind of one thing that you would, put in the bin about
it? For me, I would say how from two different points of view. So it's got very techy over the last kind of 5 or 6 years with power meters and heart rate and Garmin's and times. Mm-hmm. And from when I was racing, it made the level of competition go through the roof. Like with especially young riders coming through, there was guys that were 16 that had already been training like pros since they were 12 because they had access to this equipment. So that made the level of competition so high. So it went from us, it was going from being very competitive at the pointy end of like world championship races to not really being involved, just trying to like hang on to these crazy guys. But now that I've stopped racing, just the constant chat about power meters is mind-numbing. Power numbers all the time. Every group ride, it's someone talking about FTPs or whatever, and it's like, all right, I've had enough of this. I've done my time.
Jago, how about you? What are you binning?
For me, I would say, what do I dislike about cycling? I would say the one thing that I find quite frustrating in cycling is that people who are kind of really into cycling and obsessed with cycling don't kind of understand other things outside of cycling, if that makes sense. Like all they think about is cycling. And I think this is what me and Felix have in common, is that we can appreciate other sports. We can appreciate, people that do other things. And I think cycling, just the culture needs to change a little bit. Like it would be very hard for someone to turn up on a group ride in Mallorca, for example, from a certain clubhouse and feel welcome. And I think I don't like that about cycling.
Yeah. It's all a bit too consuming.
Yeah. I think people take it a bit too seriously. Like I could turn up to a clubhouse ride with Felix, who's, won multiple World Cups on the track, and like they would make him feel like he was, this big.
Yeah.
It's a really weird culture in a lot of ways. But having said that, there are also some amazing communities as well, which I should point out. And I think it is changing, and I think that is good. But I still think there's a long way to go to get less elitist and like more of a welcoming kind of inclusive environment for people.
Yeah, as you call yourself, I guess, a hybrid cycling club, and you have your run club. How would you say, I guess, running and cycling differ in that sense, if we're sort of going on the whole like club feel?
Yeah, I think there's less barrier to entry, isn't there, for running? Like you can just turn up with a pair of trainers and you feel like you're part of something. Whereas with cycling, obviously there are barriers to entry. You need a bike, you need certain equipment. A lot of these rides kind of dictate that you need cleats, for example. That's a massive barrier for people who haven't cycled before. So yeah, I guess in that respect, they are quite different. I also I think interesting, like if you speak to a lot of cyclists, they will make fun of runners, whereas runners probably won't make fun of cyclists. I think that's all weird. That's a weird thing that exists.
I imagine, yeah. I think they make fun because they can't do it.
For me, like I was a triathlete and growing up. Like cyclists would make fun of triathletes, but triathletes would never make fun of cyclists. So I think that says a lot about the kind of mindset within cycling a lot of the time. I don't know if Felix would agree with me.
No, I would.
Yeah.
I would.
He did used to make fun
And I
of
think
being a triathlete.
I was going to ask that. Did you make fun of...
I was about to say, no, I didn't.
Well, you triathletes with your short socks. Short socks or no socks triathletes.
Probably wouldn't do it now, but I imagine at the time, I probably didn't wear socks.
So, bearing in mind you told us about your great rides, what about coffee shops? Jago, why don't we start with you? See, a lot of people go London to Brighton. There's a lot of places where I've been in Brighton that were maybe not the best of places because it was the only place we could find that wasn't busy. But how about, where would you go for a coffee in that area, or even not Brighton, maybe the kind of the surrounding areas?
Yeah, so we do our social run club in Brighton from a place called Fika, which is at Sea Lanes, which is this new facility that was opened this summer. And it's basically a 50-meter swimming pool right on the seafront. And they've also got a bar. They've got a really nice cafe. They've got a bunch of other stuff going on down there. I think they've got like paddle boarding and stuff. And the coffee shop there, Fika, is really great. Really good speciality coffee. You have like a really nice view. You can sit on the terrace and you have a great view of the swimming pool and the sea. So I would probably recommend going there if I was in Brighton at the end of a long ride.
Fair. Felix, what about in Mallorca? I see there's a lot of coffee places. I think some of them I follow on Instagram as well. But if you want to go to a spot that maybe only maybe not the locals know, but like maybe what do you think people should really be checking out Mallorca rather than the kind of the classic few?
So there's a small coffee shop in Old Town Palma called Plumo. It was set up by a couple of friends, but if you're into sort of cycling nostalgia, they've got a load of ex-World Tour bikes from, I would say, the mid-2000s.
Amazing.
Nice.
So they've got like a Wiggins' bike, Vinokurov, Valverde, and they've got a range of maybe 15 bikes that are actually available to hire as well. So if you want a bit of a unique experience riding out here in Mallorca, you can hire Carlos Sastres Cervelo from when I think he won the Tour, didn't he?
Yeah, what, 2007?
Yeah, Lance Armstrong's nemesis.
So it's, again... yeah, but they've got, again, really good coffee, really good kind of like quick easy food, like toast and sort of those kind of smoothie bowls. Nice. Good smoothies, and it's a really good mid-ride or pre-ride or post-ride cafe.
Fair enough.
I can second that. It's a good cafe.
Perfect. As we're, I guess, talking about mountains, this question you can, I guess, take however you like. Most people go with watching and doing, but cobbles or mountains, what do you prefer?
It's a bit of a double-edged sword for me because I'm not a very good climber and I got dropped at the under-23 Tour of Flanders over the cobbles. But I would probably pick mountains now, just purely for the enjoyment, the views out here in Mallorca.
Yeah, I'd probably go mountains as well, just because I'm more likely to beat Felix on.
Jago, when was the last time you beat Felix on the bike?
I'm not sure that's ever happened. I think technically there's a few Strava segments that would suggest otherwise, but no, I would definitely not have ever beaten Felix in a race. I think we're probably in similar shape at the moment.
What was the under-23 Ronde van Vlaanderen like? Under-23 Tour of Flanders, like mad.
So we did a lot of, completely mad. We did a lot of the same course as the pros, it's just a bit shorter. But as all under-23 races are. It was just absolute chaos, sprinting into every cobbled climb, crashing at the bottom of some cobbled climbs. But yeah, I'd never experienced cobbles like it. I thought I'd ridden on proper cobbles, and I realized I hadn't. And it's pretty severe. Like people riding through people's front gardens, trying to avoid riding on the cobbles.
Oh wow!
It was it was mad. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is actually what they're racing on. It's like watching it on TV does not do it justice.
Was it back in the days where everyone was on 23s?
Yes, probably. I remember I bought a set of. Remember they had the old green Roubaix tubs?
Yes.
I don't know what they were. Maybe Vittoria made them.
I remember those.
And I thought they were really cool. I got a set of them.
Yeah, I remember
and
those.
I was like, oh, I'm going to do really well now. I've got a set of green tubs.
The Cervelo test team ran them for a while.
They didn't work.
Cervelo test team ran them for a while.
Yeah, I was looking for a refund after my blinded experience.
Well,
I didn't punch her. I was just not very good.
Guys, we're at the tail end of the podcast now. Thank you an incredible amount for spending this past time with us. Where can people find you? What's in the pipeline? And what's next?
So we're available on all good social media platforms. I think Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, probably some others. And our online store is angrypablo.cc. Or if you're listening in the EU, we're eu.angrypablo.cc.
Well, Jago, Felix, thanks for being on the Spin Cycle podcast. See you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.